And Trudeau may not be out of the country. So yesterday there was gov.exe saying, hey, I made a mistake and maybe Trudeau is not out of country. And so I've got that for you. Interesting because, I mean, one way or the other, I have absolutely no idea. There have been no media reports one way or the other. Who knows how he's spending his 7-week vacation, reflecting on everyone telling him that they want him gone. Everybody, right? The caucus, the cabinet, the NDP, everybody. But the NDP haven't really done anything to push this. And so it's interesting to watch all of this play out. And so we're going to watch this play out a little bit more. It seems like we've made it to Christmas break without the censorship laws being fully passed, C-63 being the main one that I'm talking about, but also without the government fully collapsing, even though it really should have collapsed the other day. It really should have. Jagmeet Singh the other day was making racist comments talking about how white men fail up. And that's interesting, and people are taking umbrage with that, and there are people who are talking about that, and I'll show that to you. 68 scandals of Christmas, instead of the 12 days of Christmas, we've got 68 scandals of Justin Trudeau. One of the MPs on the House floor is reading that into the record just before the holiday break went into effect, and so I'll show that to you. And healthcare wait times are the highest since starting to record such things. We've got to talk about Trudeau. We've got to talk about the tariffs. We've got a grab bag of governance here. We've got carbon taxes, digital IDs. There's things to talk about there. So there's lots to get to. Let's get to it first. Fox News again, talking about Justin Trudeau. And Canadians love to be mentioned, but don't like to be made fun of in international news, right? And right now, everybody's howling at Justin Trudeau and the imbecile that he is. And here's just a taste of what Fox News is saying about our Prime Minister. Oh, it is too fast. Look at that. But we headed off. Here we go.
Trudeau essentially calling Americans feminists for voting for Donald Trump over Kamala Harris is like file that under grasping at straws for a male politician who was asking for people to vote for him. To say that is irony at its best. According to a CNN article on this very subject, more Canadians view Donald Trump favorably than they do Justin Trudeau. Ooh. And I really do think that COVID was the beginning of the end for him. That country was locked down for literally years. If you thought California had it bad, Canada was California on steroids. You remember the Freedom Caucus? There was recently a social media.
Trucks.
Yep.
The trucks were everything. That's where everything changed.
And if you think about what the Freedom Convoy was about, the trucker protest, it was because there was a policy where they had to get vaccinated, even though they're truckers in their own bed of their truck. If there is
even
any more solo work effort than being a trucker, there is nothing other than that.
Nothing more solo than that. She's not very well spoken, that one, eh? They continue. It's 3 minutes long. We'll just leave it there. You get the idea. It's interesting how much they really dislike him, and valid criticisms, the same criticisms I was saying at the time. Here's gov.exe. He says, yesterday, I put up a post saying that Justin Trudeau had left for Hawaii. I was wrong. It was the Canadian Armed Forces plane he used to fly to Florida to meet with Donald Trump, so I deleted the post. I tried to provide accurate information, so I apologize for any confusion. Thank you. But it's interesting to me. So why was the plane that he used to fly down to meet Donald Trump flying to Hawaii during that timeline? Do we have a reason for that? Do we know where Trudeau is? Is he at Harrington Lake? Is he just at home? What's he doing for Christmas, right? And when we see footage of Justin Trudeau buying a Coke or something like that in Hawaii, we'll know that gov.exe was right. At this point in time, I really don't have any idea if Trudeau's in country or not, but it seems like a bad time for a vacation. It seems like a bad time to not exactly be MIA. Is it the Prime Minister's responsibility to let the public know where he is at all times, even Christmas break? When the country is being threatened by 25% tariffs and seemingly the leading people who are supposed to deal with this are going to be coming back after those tariffs are supposed to be in effect for a week, it doesn't instill confidence in me. I'm not thinking to myself, great, good time for a break, everyone, Christmas or no, right? Have you seen The Family Guy? The Family Guy is a weird Christmas movie. It's like it's a Nicolas Cage one, so that's enough, right? But he gets to glimpse this whole other family, this whole other life But at the beginning of the movie, he's a high-powered Wall Street guy, and it's Christmas Eve, and he's just called his entire team in to talk about a deal that's closing that day, because that's the day you close big deals, obviously, because that makes the Christmas special better. And so they're working Christmas Day, right? Like, or not Christmas Day, but they do end up working Christmas Day at the end of the movie. And Justin Trudeau's like, oh man, you know, it's a couple of days, it's a week before Christmas. It's time to be in Hawaii. I'm upset that I'm not already in Hawaii. And so he flies out right after the Liberal Christmas party, where he laughs at Chrystia Freeland. Apparently, this is the other thing I heard, that the lineup for photographs with Justin Trudeau was shorter than the lineup for photographs with Chrystia Freeland, but he was on a time crunch. He had to leave for some reason, maybe to catch a plane to Hawaii. Maybe. So gov.exe says he's probably not in Hawaii. It's probably a different thing. And I say, what's up with that plane that Justin Trudeau used to fly down to Florida to visit Trump, flying to Hawaii on the same day that Justin Trudeau had to cut his photographs short? I mean, Justin Trudeau doesn't cut an opportunity for people to take photographs with him short lightly, right? Like a narcissist, that's bread and butter for a narcissist, right? He's just loving that kind of stuff. He doesn't stop that if he could help it, right? So, I mean, it's a very, very urgent thing. We've got a takeoff time, and we've got, you know, cocktail party in Hawaii when you land, sir. Time to get going, right? So, like, I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if Justin Trudeau is in Canada or Hawaii. Maybe we'll find out over the Christmas break, but maybe not. Here's CBC Watcher. Coletto on CBCNN. When did this happen? I have no idea. Why is CNN on CBC, and why is there this partnership? And I haven't read anything about this. Like, this seems new, but also nobody's talking about it. I haven't seen any news like, oh, CNN's funding CBC News, whatever. I don't know. It's weird. Anyway, quote, we found this survey. Almost 6 in 10 Canadians want an election right now. I think there's a growing appetite from the public to be able to pick who that government and the leader is as the new president takes over. Have you ever seen anyone come back from polling numbers like this and win an election? Coletto, even going back to the history books and finding an incumbent government 20 to 25 points behind their opponents, and within a year to be able to close the gap, I can't find an example. So, you know, if Justin Trudeau is confident that he can put the Liberal Party in a place that makes them more competitive, he will be doing something that no leader in Canada, perhaps around the world, has done since we've been voting in elections globally. Translation, Trudeau has a snowball chance in hell. Yeah. Even 10 points is insurmountable, which is why neither Jagmeet Singh nor Justin Trudeau want to cause an election. And I'll show that to you in just a second. David Mulrooney says, Mark Carney is not joining the Liberal government. I'm shocked. This is my shocked face. I'm shocked. Finance Minister Dominic LeBlanc says, when they can't even pull off a standard betrayal, you know they're done. Yeah, they're running down the clock now for Jagmeet Singh's pension, which, I mean, really, that's it? That's the whole thing? Here's good rationale for why about 30 people are staying quiet. Once the cabinet is shuffled, the dam breaks, probably, maybe. We'll see. I don't know. The dam should have broken last week. The dam should have broken the other day again. The dam should have broken in 2023 when China has been placing at least 11 and up to 41 MPs in our House of Commons. Here is, this is an MP talking about, Sean Casey, talking about people being in the running for cabinet positions, so they don't want to wreck their chances of being a cabinet minister, and coming out against Justin Trudeau, right? Because you don't get put in the cabinet if you say you got to step down, sir. Here we go.
There's nobody being muzzled, but if there's 8 or 9 cabinet positions available, there's 30 people that think they're in the running. And in my view, the cabinet shuffle is being delayed to keep them off the list.
Of those who are against.
Yeah, they're going to be a heck of a lot more interested in speaking out once they find out that they're not going into cabinet. There's nobody.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong. So interesting stuff going on there. Rachel Parker is interviewing Jagmeet Singh, and he says, I'm not going to discuss hypotheticals. So Jagmeet Singh is giving Justin Trudeau the whole Christmas break, I guess 7 weeks of it, to figure out what he's going to do. And then after that 7 weeks break, if Justin Trudeau doesn't resign, then Jagmeet Singh is going to bring down the government. You know, after February 25th when he qualifies for his pension. Here's this exchange on breakfast television.
After the holiday period, after Justin Trudeau reflects, say he doesn't resign, then what?
Well, I'm not going to answer hypotheticals, but I can tell you my commitment is we know there's going to be an election next year. We know that 2025 is an election year. That's for sure. And people tell me again and again that they are fed up with and are done with the Liberals. They're not going to give them, they don't deserve another chance. So there'll be an important choice. The Conservatives, Pierre Poilievre, want to cut the things that people need. They want to cut pensions for seniors. They want to cut childcare for families. They want to cut investments in healthcare. They're going to cut, and it's going to hurt people. Or New Democrats, what we want to do is we want to make your life more affordable. Make sure you can lower the bill, lower the...
After the holiday period, after Justin Trudeau...
They have not succeeded in making people's life more affordable. Although he talks about dental care and things like that. But again, there are other ways to solve this problem rather than making it a taxpayer-funded, government-delivered program, really. Here's Mark Nixon, and he's sharing this. Jagmeet Singh says he doesn't want to call an election because he would rather fight Donald Trump with retaliatory tariffs. These are not very good excuses, and they shouldn't be working. There's one opportunity here, I think, and the woman doesn't take it, to ask Jagmeet Singh a very specific question. And instead, it's like watching that Tyson-Paul fight, right? Like Tyson could have punched Paul's head off his shoulders, and instead he bit his glove, right? So like, I don't know, man. Here we go.
You've said on this program and many times before, this will be a case-by-case basis. Mm-hmm. What's the case that would see you continue to support them?
Well, like I said, I don't want to speculate on it. But if we've got scenarios
what still do you need from them? I get what you were getting before from the supply and confidence agreement, mm-hmm. dental care, pharmacare, but what do you still need from them that would garner your support and confidence?
Well, here's a concrete scenario. We've got Trump coming in at the end of January, and he's going to impose tariffs. Do we vote on retaliatory tariffs to say, no, we're not going to take that, we're going to fight back, but it's going to cost you? If you think that you can put tariffs on us mm-hmm. and get away with no harm, it's going to hurt you. It's going to cost Americans. It's going to raise the cost of items in America. So we've got a choice between a vote on retaliatory tariffs or triggering an election. And what's in the best interest of the Canadians? What's in the best interest of hundreds of thousands of workers who say, well, I don't want my jobs to be at risk. I want you to fight back and protect my jobs. I don't know what's going to happen. And so that's why I'm not going to speculate. But what I am going to say is there's going to be an election. And in that election, people will have that choice. You Democrats who want to bring down the cost of your groceries, want to build homes that you can afford. Conservatives want to let CEOs rip you off even more. That's an important choice.
Last question. Given the mess that we're in right now, what we've seen happen.
Okay, so during this whole segment here, and I let him play the whole thing, she's pivoting away from that. That question, her question pivots away. Okay, last question, blah, 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 pivots away. He's talking here about either voting for retaliatory tariffs or voting for an election. He doesn't talk about what Trump wants to place the retaliatory tariffs on Canada for. And if I were in her position, and I'd never be in her position because CBC or whoever she works for wouldn't hire me, but if I were in her position, I would reiterate Trump's position and throw that in Jagmeet's face and say, listen, what he wants is a stop to illegal criminals crossing the U.S. border from Canada and a stop to drugs coming into the country. That benefits Canada. Shutting those things down benefits Canada. Why do we want to go to war with Trump about stopping these things that would benefit Canada if we stop these things here? He doesn't have an answer for that. He would pivot to Galen Weston being a millionaire or something like that. It's ridiculous, right? It is not credible. And the fact that he's using the tariffs as an object itself, like the tariffs are separate from what Trump has demanded. He doesn't talk about what Trump has demanded. He doesn't talk about the problems, the illegals, the open border, the drugs. He doesn't talk about that. The fentanyl deaths. He doesn't talk about any of that. He positions Canada and the United States being at odds because Trump wants the tariffs. But he doesn't talk about what Trump wants the tariffs for on purpose because he wants Canada to be on his side. But the reality is Trump wants the best for Canada too, in my opinion, because he wants the best for the United States. He doesn't want drugs in the United States coming from Canada. He doesn't want illegals in the United States coming from Canada. So he says, stop it, or I'm gonna make it hurt. You can keep doing this. You want to ignore me, fine. I'm gonna make it hurt. And Jagmeet Singh is not engaging with that really, really core argument. And that's wrong. Like, he's supposed to hear what Trump says, and now he's reimagining what Trump says and playing the strong man. And like, that's fucking crazy. Like, we should not tolerate this. We should say, dude, this is actually the situation you're in, not that. And you need to deal with that. You need to deal with the drugs and the illegals that you let in and open the border and are allowing to cross into the United States. You need to deal with that because you've supported the government that's allowed that. She doesn't go there. Here's where she goes.
A lot of people would say those 2 boxes are checked. Time for you to act on what you've been saying all along, that it's time for Trudeau to go. Listen,
Oh, sorry. It was I pushed it too far on. The last question, she says, is here. Sorry. And she says, oh, those boxes are checked.
given the mess that we're in right now, what we've seen happen, reading that letter, do you regret not bringing down this government sooner?
No regrets. What I'm focused on is we've delivered for people. We brought in dental care. We brought in pharmacare. A million people in Canada have been able to go to the dentist and fix their teeth because we fought to make that happen. So we're going to keep on fighting for people.
A lot of people would say those 2 boxes are checked. Time for you to act on what you've been saying all along, that it's time for Trudeau to go.
There's going to be an election.
I know.
Awful. I wouldn't let him get away. My goal would be either to get the answers that I want or ask questions that are pertinent, on topic. And if he gets up and walks out, then that looks bad on him because he can't defend his position. And she just let him walk away. Nothing. No real hard question whatsoever. Unbelievable stuff. Dan Albus says, the only reason why the NDP leader is calling on Justin Trudeau to resign is because he wants a new Liberal leader who is less toxic to support. Make no mistake, the leader of the NDP will continue to stand by Trudeau or a successor. Canadians deserve a carbon tax election now. He's an MP, so the carbon tax election is the slogan of the Conservatives right now. And realistically, corruption election would probably be better. Andrew Lawton says this might end up being the most important Canadian holiday of 2025. February 25th, 2025 is the day Jagmeet Singh is eligible for his pension. So that's interesting, right? Here's Melissa. She says, wow, Durham Regional Police Association is joining the Toronto Police Association and stating their lack of faith with the Trudeau government in Canada and calling for Trudeau to resign. So Durham Regional Police posts this. We echo the sentiment of the Toronto Police. Adding portfolios to the Public Safety Minister, Dominic LeBlanc, takes away their ability to focus on pre-existing agendas. Empty promises and platitudes have very little meaning and continue to be disingenuous to our members and the members of the general public. Violent crimes, gun offenses, and the lack of actual bail reform does nothing but endanger the public, officers, and society as a whole. It's time we elect a government that will follow through with much needed change instead of empty promises. Yep, the government they've lost the public.
That's already been done.
That's certainly true. Lost the public. Here is Chris, and Chris is an MP as well for Grand Prairie Mackenzie, and he's put out a video talking about Chrystia Freeland and how her and Trudeau are pretty well aligned, and the real reason that she quit. It's an interesting video, 3.5 minutes. I've gone through a lot of what he's saying. I'll play about a minute of it. We've heard a lot of this stuff before, but it's interesting to hear parliamentarians talk about it like this. Here we go.
Serve as the finance minister. The prime minister wanted somebody new, and of course, Chrystia Freeland thought that she deserved the right to continue in that post. Imagine that. They didn't care about the value of the Canadian dollar, the size of the deficits, or the amount that inflation continues to go up. No. They were just having a dispute about who could explain this in a convincing way to Canadians. The run-up of $62 billion in spending was not new information. That's already been done. Those are last year's numbers. But that wasn't the firing offense. Apparently, according to sources within the Prime Minister's office, they didn't care about how much money she was spending. They just cared that clearly she wasn't able to communicate to Canadians in such a way that Canadians would accept these outrageous deficits. In her resignation letter, Chrystia Freeland tried to rewrite history. She claimed that she had been a responsible steward, that somehow she had been the one pushing for more responsible management of Canada's finances. But nothing could be further from the truth. The evidence is very clear. Every single budget that this finance minister has ever presented has been a skyrocketing of deficits, piling on more debt for future generations to pay off. She has never demonstrated fiscal responsibility. She would always use cautionary language in her budgets, talking about fiscal responsibility and how the government didn't want to spend too much because it would drive up inflation. She cautioned that Canadians should cancel things like Disney Plus to make their household budgets work, and she was going to do the same when it came to the country's finances.
I personally, as a mother...
Right, but she didn't do that. She didn't do that. So very interesting what's going on, and it seems like they've lost confidence of absolutely everybody, but they're maintaining a hold on power. Somebody did a whole write-up, and I tagged it, but I can't find it today, so I apologize about that. But basically, they were saying Freeland's making a play to force a leadership crisis in the Liberal Party, forcing basically the Liberals to engage in a leadership race in early 25 that may prorogue Parliament until summer, and then you go through the summer break, and then bingo bango bongo, you've got an election for October with Chrystia Freeland running the Liberal Party after either as interim leader or somebody else doing the interim leader thing while Chrystia Freeland runs for leader along with Mark Carney and maybe Dominic LeBlanc as well. But I feel like it's a power play to basically put a hold on the government while the Liberals get their crap sorted out, and nothing changes, and they've got a death grip on Parliament until October 25. Right? Does that make sense? So I thought it was well written, and then this morning I think the post was removed. I think, or it was deleted by the author because I think I had the link and then it was just gone. So. Unfortunately, I thought the write-up was really comprehensive, and I was like, there's a lot of good points here that I don't want to take credit for. And I mean, so I read it, but I don't think I read it enough to reiterate the really good points. Darn. Let's do our grab bag of governance. Justin Trudeau is trying badly, belatedly, ineffectively to address the tariff issue with Donald Trump. But he's the issue, and all of his policies are the issue, and he needs to go. Justin Trudeau says, we're stepping up to keep our borders strong and secure by deploying new helicopters, drones, and surveillance tools, by adding new scanners and sniffer dog teams to stop and seize fentanyl, by cracking down on the money laundering that's funding cross-border crime. I'm surprised he didn't tag Donald Trump in this one. Right? There you go, POTUS. I'm the best governor of Canada yet. Leanne is reading out 68 scandals and counting. 68 scathing scandals and counting. This is the legacy of Justin Trudeau and his NDP Liberals. So she starts around here, and we'll just go for, as long as it makes sense, it's 5 minutes. Like, it takes a long time to read out all the scandals, and she's doing it at a good clip. Here we go.
Of the 12 days of Christmas, but after 9 years of NDP-Liberal government, I bring you the 68 scandals this Christmas instead. So let's take a walk down Scandal Lane together as we review the 68 and continuing Liberal scandals. The Aga Khan vacation scandal, the prison needle exchange program, pressuring the Justice Minister to get Liberal donor SNC Lavalin off the hook and firing the Justice Minister for not helping with the cover-up. Some people experience it differently response over groping allegations. The We Charity scandal. Prime Minister assaults NDP MP in the House of Commons. Proroguing Parliament to escape the We Charity scandal. Sending personal protective equipment to China during a pandemic. Giving hundreds of thousands of dollars in ventilator contracts to Liberal Party insider Frank Baylis. Fake charges against Mark Norman. Rampant sexual assault in the military. Illegally invoking the Emergencies Act. Fabricating why the Emergencies Act was invoked. The Public Health Agency of Canada found committing contempt of Parliament in the Winnipeg lab document scandal. The Public Health Agency tracking scandal. Trampling Canadians with horses. Seizing Canadians' bank accounts. Rampant abuse of staff in the Prime Minister appointed Governor General's office. The Governor General wasting over $100,000 to throw private jet parties. Liberal connections with illegal casino magnates. Vaccine delays and unwarranted vaccine mandates. Dressing up in racist costumes on an official trip to India. Dressing up in racist blackface costumes at least 3 times over 11 years. But, the Prime Minister is, this number is how many times the Prime Minister can remember. So mass airport delays and cancellations as we continue. Decriminalizing hard drugs. Lowering the flag for half a year. Polluting more in 1 year on his private jet than an average Canadian does in half a lifetime. More than 7...
I'd be interested to see like the amount of pollution put in number of Canadians. Like, this is 100,000 Canadians for 1 year, or this is 10,000 Canadians for 10 years. You know what I mean? Like, the jet travel that you did this year is the equivalent of 10,000 Canadians living their lives for this many years. Does that make sense? I'd like to see that. That'd be interesting. There are more scandals. That was 2 minutes out of a 4 minute and 31 second. And like, we didn't listen to 2 minutes of her stuff. I started kind of in a little bit. So there are a lot of scandals, and this government is playing games to keep power because they're very good at keeping power, not very good at listening to the public. Sue says, I asked Tariq if he paid back the $400,000 the Liberal government gave him to start a business here in Nova Scotia. He hid my reply and blocked me. I'm guessing we aren't getting our $400,000 back. So Tariq says, 9 years ago today, I arrived in Canada as a Syrian refugee, leaving everything behind. Today, I'm a proud Canadian, a CEO on a mission for peace and living the dream. I've learned two things. Anything is possible, and maple syrup goes with everything. I belong. I'm home. Okay, so there are a bunch of replies, and it's interesting to view what's been hidden by Tariq. Some people saying like Syria is free now, go home, and a bunch of other things like that. A lot of people asking him, where's the money, dude? You should pay it back, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Other people saying $400,000 isn't even enough to start a business in Canada these days. So mixture. I think there was one person saying like the opportunities in Syria are actually going to be better than the opportunities in Canada soon. Like you might be better to go back, taking a different tact, right? You see, here's the National Post saying in 2024, healthcare wait times in Canada were at their highest levels since measurements began 3 decades ago. So climate change is the real problem here, right? Like, it's interesting that Canadians still believe that their healthcare is the best in the world or among the best in the world, whereas the outcomes are terrible, like terrible, terrible, terrible. Hallway healthcare, and I would be concerned that I would be one of the statistics of medical malpractice and or, oops, we accidentally amputated your leg and or killed you when we just intended to do a minor surgery. You know what I mean? And I think there's accidental deaths in hospitals is a very, very high number in Canada, and there isn't a really good reason for it. And so being in a hospital is one of the last places that I'd ever want to be for treatment and service. And like, that's terrible because I pay a lot of money every year to maintain these death traps, right? Like, yikes. So that's not good. That's not good. I don't trust them. I don't trust the bureaucracy. I don't trust that the doctors are trained well because it seems like Big Pharma's training them. And it's like, oh, if you've got a hangnail, we could maid you, or you could get on this wait list for a specialist for 15 years. So up to you, though. Yes, you have to live with the pain of your toe for 15 years unless we made you. So yeah, I just don't trust the healthcare in Canada at all anymore, and that's a shame. Tamar Lich was in the EU yesterday speaking and being given awards. Tamar Lich says, there's simply no words to express my gratitude to Christine Anderson and the ESN group, these guys, for choosing me as the recipient of their 2024 Women Fighting for Freedom Award. It's truly an honor to be recognized and very humbling. What happened in the winter of 2022 was truly a team effort of which I was but a small part. The truckers and Canadians who stood fast in the face of tyranny deserve this and so much more. Thank you for recognizing our efforts, and thank you for this extraordinary honor. Yeah, interesting stuff. And she was able to speak in the EU Parliament yesterday, thanks to Christine Anderson. So all of that's interesting. And I still don't think that we're out of this, though. Not yet. These people are dead serious. And at this point in time, I don't even see how Trump can represent a win, because it seems like he's being stymied. But we'll talk about that at the end of the show. He's being blocked, again, like a chess game. He's being blocked at different vectors by different pieces that have been put in place a while ago. Speaker Johnson is one of them. And so I don't know how it's going to work. And it seems like Dodge is, the Department of Government Efficiency. I don't know if they're going to be effective or if they're going to be stymied. Speaker Johnson tried to pass a bill yesterday in the United States that was a 1,500-page government spending bill that had a whole bunch of other things packaged into it. And basically the package would have crushed Dodge, would have been able to block them doing anything. I think it would have prevented Kash Patel from investigating certain things, including January 6th, all sorts of crazy stuff, right? And so the bill didn't pass. But still, and so the government's being shut down in the United States, but still, there's moves and counter moves, and the moves we see are public like this, and the moves we don't see are not. And so the question is basically, will Trump be able to maneuver around it to do what he wants to do? And if he is able to do what he wants to do, will that be what we want, right? As freedom fighters, as people who want a strong economy and a strong place for our kids to grow up, and no wars and peace and all the rest of it. Is that what we're going to get? And I mean, if you look at his first term, there's no reason to think no. But at the same time, right, like, people are concerned. Okay, Danielle Smith, let's move on a little bit. Tariffs and Trump. Okay, we're not moving on. Danielle Smith says, fair question. So the question is, no one can answer why we subsidize Canada to the tune of over $100 million a year. Makes no sense. Many Canadians want Canada to become the 51st state. I don't think so. Although that was contentious yesterday a little bit. There's a lot of conversation on all of the places where my show was. There was lots of back and forth about the 51st state stuff. There was lots of conversation anyway, but it was interesting. There were some people who were saying, like, it's going to happen anyway and you better embrace it, and other people saying, that's treasonous talk. You can't say that you want to become another country. If you want to become another country, move to America. So it's interesting. And I look at it from a practical point of view. From like, would we go to miles per hour and have interstates? Would we have fully open borders? Like, practically, there's problems that are inherent with it. But there were people saying, like, no, everything would pretty much stay the same, except that we'd have like monetary harmonization, and we'd have the Commonwealth of Canada or something like that. We'd keep the Commonwealth of Canada name and not be a state or something. I said, well, what's the point then? Anyway, the conversation was robust and interesting. Anyway, Trump continues. He says, Canadians would save massively on taxes and military protection. I think it's a great idea. 51st state. So, man, if Trump does it, and I mean, like, I don't know. I'm one vote, right? Who knows? I'm on the side of Canada staying Canada, but if there's a good proposal, I mean, we'd be silly not to think about it. But at the same time, it's all basically a meme at this point in time. It's not real, right? It's not really real. It's like Trump trying to buy Greenland and people saying, no, you can't buy Greenland, and him saying, why not? That's as far as it's going to get. You know what I mean? Like, this might be as far as it actually gets in real life. But Danielle Smith is taking it at face value, and she's responding. She says, fair question on the trade deficit with Canada, Mr. President. The reason for this is because Canada, especially Alberta, send billions of raw materials, oil, gas, minerals, grain, livestock, timber, etc., to your U.S. refineries and factories, which your great American companies and workers upgrade and sell around the world, including back to Canada. We are your biggest customer by a mile. Literally millions of good-paying American jobs and companies rely on these affordable raw materials from Canada to make trillions of dollars of wealth in your country. As a conservative premier in Canada, I believe we have two of the greatest countries on earth. We have fought and bled together in many wars and built an incredible alliance and partnership. I really hope we can strengthen that partnership through your presidency by securing our shared border, as you've requested, and partnering to protect our North American workers from unfair Chinese trade practices. Americans and Canadians will both benefit immensely from this. We in the province of Alberta, which sends 4.3 million barrels of oil and gas to your country each day, stand ready to work with you. Looking forward to attending your inauguration in Washington this January. That'd be fun. I hadn't even considered. Should we do a road trip? Canada Poly goes to Washington. Gord says, Trump's 51st state rhetoric regards Canada is serving a number of different functions, but beneath it all, Trump understands the threat posed to the United States by the Laurentian elite who run Canada and their disgraced and soon-to-be replaced poster boy, Justin Trudeau. Gord continues, Trump and his people are well aware of a number of growing threats to the U.S. interests happening with their neighbors. His talk of tariffs is merely a negotiation tool to force the Canadian government to start governing like adults. I think that's accurate. An incredible amount of illegal migrants, terrorists, and highly dangerous drugs like fentanyl are flowing into the United States from the northern border, and Trudeau has done squat F all to stop it, and in many ways has encouraged it through his globalist immigration policies. Canada is also moving into the Chinese sphere of influence and control. Let us not forget the CSIS confirmed Chi-Con interference in Canadian politics back to Mulroney and direct interference in the last two elections. Nothing has been done about that. China is also buying land and resources access in Canada, which Trump and every administration previous to this rightly viewed as theirs, insofar as the historical precedent has been set by Canada and the U.S. have an incredible trade relationship. Trump wants them out. The discussion around tariffs was a component of the disagreements between Trudeau and Freeland last week, which led to her resignation as Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister. Trump is already orchestrating major wins for Canada and signaling to the government he means business. As far as the 51st state stuff goes, it seems very unlikely that Canada would willingly join the United States. And why bother? Canada is already a vassal of the U.S., a junior partner that is not really a partner. So I agree with this. I think that's pretty accurate. We're subsidized like a state, but we don't act like a state, but we kind of do, right? Like there's a lot of interplay, et cetera, et cetera. And so if it was made, quote, more formal, I don't see how it would be made more formal than the informal agreement we've got now, where we retain Canadian, like a Canadian sovereignty of any kind at all, right? Does that make sense? So I don't see any reason to do it. Anyway, one can separate historical Canadian identity from the state and position relative to the U.S. Canada is in some deep shit right now, and in order to avoid total dysfunction, must make significant moves and reversals on various fronts. Trump knows this, and some of those necessary changes are aligned with U.S. interests. Too long didn't read. What Trump is doing is good for the United States and will ultimately be good for Canada. We will not become an official 51st state, but Canada will definitely improve if it heeds to Trump's demands. The status quo is leading us to hell. Yeah, like I agree, because as I said when I was talking about Jagmeet Singh, fundamentally, Trump doesn't want criminals coming to Canada to then flood into the United States, and Trump doesn't want drugs made in Canada with material imported from China easily to flood into the United States. He doesn't want that. And so if that market is cut off from those people doing the human trafficking, crossing the border, doing the drug trafficking, et cetera, if that pathway is cut off, it's no longer financially viable for them to continue doing it, right? And so they stop. And so that helps Canada too, because it takes us out of that sphere of being forced into human trafficking and being forced into the drug trade and things like that. Hello, everyone. Thanks very much for watching. This is just a short version of a longer show. If you'd like to get the whole show, you can go over to CanadaPoly.com and sign up for a subscription. Just look in the drop-down tab for Shop and Donate and look for subscriptions, and you'll get immediate access to the full show. Love to see you. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful